Oh, come on, I can't be the only one who thought of that. Hey! Guess what? I'm back. Yes, I'm still alive. Yeah, sorry about that. Kind of an unannounced absence. I had to take care of some things. You know, other projects I was working on, which may or may not make its way to this channel, but anyway, enough of my excuses. Anyway, I'm back. So let's get right into it. Okay, so this is Genshin Impact, a game that seemingly went under my radar. It was in beta for a few months, a year, I don't know, and only knew its release so that I ever see it being mentioned, and then it just seemed to have exploded everywhere. I think, what, 10 million players or something? The game is free, so why not? Yeah, I know, free with the big asterisk on it, but I'm still gonna say this right off the bat. Even with the microtransactions in the game, this game is fun. Really, it is. I've heard the term gacha being used with this game a lot, which is unfortunately an unfamiliar term with me. Google says that it's a game that involves loot boxes and that's it? Yeah, I don't get it. I don't see how it's any different from other games, Asian or otherwise, that nickel and dime the ever-living crap out of them. Unless you just fail or roll miserably, the game just goes. At least the game isn't so reliant on the loot boxes and not nearly as convoluted as these drop rate bonuses, but you can't use the SG shop unless you buy yourself some SG, which is bought from the yard. No, just no. The other game I've seen this being compared to is Breath of the Wild, and I can definitely see the inspiration, both in how open it is and how you get around. So you play as one of two celestial teenagers or something who's just minding their own business, visiting different worlds, because that's what all teenagers do, and then an annoying bitch shows up and says, yeah, no fun for you. At this point, you get to choose which sibling you want to take control of, either the brother or the sister, and your immediate goal becomes to find the other sibling. You end up stuck in one random world and end up befriending Paimon, a flying fairy demon pixie thing, whose job is to follow the player as a general guide and go around being adorable as fuck.
Topped with a generous serving of onion slices lightly caramelized by the toasting. Yum, yum. Anyways, Paimon just wants to borrow the sword to... no, you heard nothing. Paimon just wants to see it.
Come to think of it, quite a few of our books are now overdue. I really wish people would just return their books on time.
Whoa, is Paimon imagining things, or does the air in here suddenly feel a lot more electrified?
Because she's a lightning mage? Electrified? As in, electric. The game is a full action RPG with a rather basic combo system, but it's basic for a reason. Instead of using one character and tailoring them to how you want them, you actually play as multiple characters, up to 4 and switch between them, which you can do almost any time, even during the same combo. Having said that, this also means no customizing your own appearance in this one. There are skins, but all I've been able to find are just ones for your glider. Every character has a different playstyle and elemental affinity, and although you can't really level them up in any specialized way, you can equip them with different weapons and armor with numerous stats, and every single one of them is upgradable from materials that you loot. Some enemies have their own elemental affinities, such as fire or water, and are weak to other elements, but even when they don't have any, you can still inflict status effects such as burning, which actually makes them weak to other elements, in most cases more than just one. When playing with a friend, each player gets to choose 2 characters, while 3 players allows only the host to pick 2, and with 4 players online,
everybody gets 1.
This creates an addicting gameplay loop of killing and looting, using said loot to upgrade your stuff, finding synergy between different characters, and experimenting with different team setups, all the while exploring the landscape and doing quests. Oh yeah, quests. Oh boy. Time to switch gears. The game does have a lot of quests, and they all pretty much play out like you expect them to. It continues the game's story, as well as fleshing out the different characters that you meet. The story is your typical anime fantasy that the game closely resembles visually, and quite beautifully actually, but if you're thinking about enjoying the story with a friend, Think again. Never mind the fact that the game forces you to level your adventure rank to 16 before you're even allowed to play with anyone, which alone can already deter someone from playing if they expected to start playing with a friend immediately. But to finally get there, only to find out that there's almost nothing you can actually do together? Really? Another game where you can't do the main quest line with friends? I thought we were past this. Oh no, wait. Did I say the main quest line? No, my bad. I mean all of it. While the game does have things you typically find in your average seasonal games, such as dailies, dungeon runs, and the like, and those you can do with friends, that doesn't excuse the fact that a huge majority of the game is cut off if players want to play with their friends. And it's a shame too, what with all the game being about building the perfect dream team, something that's, I'd imagine, a lot more fun to do with a friend, you think the game is actually encouraging you to play with others. Now, to be fair, I did go into the game fully expecting not being able to do the main story with others. After all, that is what it says in the game's fandom page. And even then, it turns out that the story quests are actually a very small part of the game's quests anyway, as it still left out world quests and Archon quests. Archon? I don't know. The latter are seemingly filled with story anyway. But when I finally got around to being able to play with one of my friends, I found out that I couldn't open my quest journal. Nope, I still don't have a journal.
Hit us. What are you using to open up your journal?
Jay?
Yeah, you want to restart your game?
A glitch? Maybe? I tried leaving and coming back. Nothing. I tried restarting the game. Nothing. No journal. I tried looking online to find some answers, and all I got was conflicting answers from various sites. IGN said that the main missions couldn't be completed in co-op at all, and said it was best to leave the side and world quests for co-op. Huh? PC Gamer says you can't do the story quests. The fandom page, as mentioned earlier, said you can't do the story quests, and Inverse says the prologue story quests are referred to as Archon quests. What's with all the misinformation? Am I reading any of this right? Is any of this outdated? So, either I'm missing something, haven't gotten far enough into the game, or absolutely none of this is true. And the real answer is you can't do any of the quests with others at all. Again, I'm not saying the game is bad, it's actually fantastic when you're playing by yourself, because at least it actually feels like you're progressing. Combat in co-op is a blast in and of itself, but otherwise it feels like it was only an afterthought in terms of progression, or something that's reserved for when you've exhausted the game's main story. And I mean it, you can't progress in your game when playing with others. Need to reference the game of an NPC to use as a landmark but forgot where he was? Well, stop playing the game online, because you're going to have to do it if you want to open your quest journal. It's just flat out disabled. Found a statue which reveals more of the map while playing with others? Tell your friends to get the fuck out, because you ain't doing shit to that statue until they do. Started some weird non-quest that for some reason acts like one but isn't labeled as such? Need to turn it in? Too bad! Because you can't even talk to NPCs if they're not a vendor.
Oh, I can't talk to anybody up in this bitch. I can't talk to this girl. So I can't get my guy back.
As if the quests weren't already a big enough issue, the game's problems don't end there. The entire game's interface seemed, for lack of a better term, heavily mobile-based. It's not even a thing like console-based. While you can definitely click your way through the menus, there is absolutely no shortcuts either by right-clicking, double-clicking, or even using the frickin' keyboard. This is annoying as hell when you get a new character who doesn't have anything equipped, because you're going to have to click on every single item until you find the one you want, and then moving the mouse all the way to the bottom of the screen just to confirm your selection. This is extra annoying when trying to use healing items mid-combat while in co-op. In single-player, it's fine, as the game pauses when you're in the menus, but of course this doesn't happen online. There doesn't seem to be any way to hotkey items to use when you need to use them right now. And speaking of keys, you can't configure your controls either. You can look at them, but you can't configure them. Maybe it's just some strange terminology that I'm unaware of. After all, on and off in the menus is open and close. But no biggie, right? I'm on PC here, I can configure my controls any way I please. I got rebinding software. Yeah, no, not gonna work here. On my first day of playing this game, it actually did, but after the game's first initial updates, I can no longer latch on to the game's executable for whatever reason. All because I wanted my right-click bound to magic attacks, which is bound to E. What does right-clicking do? Run. Yeah, which is also what shift does, so... what's the point now? And probably the worst issue of them all, well, next to the lack of things you can do in co-op, is the game always showing you your UID, a number which you need to find your friends during all parts of the game. During the combat, during the cutscenes, while in the menus, even when choosing to hide the interface in the game's photo mode. It's not even very hard to reference your UID when you need to. It's right there when you hit escape. Actually, wait, no. It shouldn't even be there. It should only be accessible when you request it. But there doesn't seem to be any way to hide it. The game insists that it shows it to you at all times. Did the devs forget that social media exists, and that not everyone who wants to share their content with others also wants to share what is the equivalent of your phone number in this game? Now, going back to the quests, I have seen others say that if the game's quests were able to be completed with others online, it would become too exploitable as you would get certain rewards again. And, you know, I understand that completely. And not giving the player anything would be wasting the player's time. But if the goal is to not waste the player's time, co-op sure does seem like nothing but a waste of time, at least early on when you first get the ability to play with others in the first place. Why am I opening chests only to hear my friends say that they didn't get any of that? While it's true that the game does have a daily reset system in place, and things like common chests supposedly respawn, would it be too hard to give them something? Anything? If quests can't be repeated in order to avoid reward exploits, can they at least get something? Why not give lower tier items instead? And if that's too much, why not create some kind of co-op only content and quests? Or even some kind of community system that gives you points to use on other things to help others do their quest line. Like a set of rewards you can only get by helping others. The kind of content that you can do with others, at least early on, can be done in mere minutes. Daily commissions, if you don't do them by yourself, are done pretty fast, and are limited per day. The game's repeatable dungeons, well, they're not the kind of dungeons that you'd find in games that are like an MMO, which, by the way, this game doesn't even advertise itself as anyway, and those also can be done in a few minutes. Maybe as I get further in the game, these will become longer, but how much more from now? I can't really imagine. They could just be more difficult, which doesn't necessarily mean it will take longer, but I may just need to be better equipped. But having said all of this, it still means the initial main content of the game forces you to play by yourself. It's really a shame that the game's story can't be enjoyed with others, not only because early on that makes up the bulk of the game's content, but because it's actually somewhat interesting, if not at least funny, especially the scenes with Paimon. It'd be something to either banter about with your friends in between, or at least poke fun at. The game is, at the very least, very, very new, and the devs do seem to be at the very least open to feedback. What the sh? So in the end, as a single-player experience, this game is really great. But I can't help but think that the huge cutoff of available content once you get online with others is a major oversight, if not the game's biggest flaw. It's got the makings and story of a secretive Mana game, or Seiken Denetsu if you want to get technical, combined with the longevity of a modern seasonal update system. The former, which is usually the best when enjoyed with friends, but for whatever reason, translates very poorly here. But hopefully as time passes and the game gets more updates, they'll be able to make changes to the game and give more incentive to play with others. Alright, so that wraps up this video, folks. I know that despite me saying that this game was great, this was more about the game's issues, but hopefully this gave you some insight on what to expect. On the other hand, I could be very wrong about all of this, and I indeed may just be missing something about the game's co-op, because I'm still in the very early parts of the game myself. But I do really want to see this game get better. It really is a great game, like I said. I just feel that it needs some work when it comes to playing with others. Hopefully, maybe someone will hear me and maybe start making some changes. But the only way for that to happen is for you to help me out and like this video, and while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Once again, I'm Generator. It feels really good to be back, and I'll see everyone next time.